Hello there. You, the one who chose to press play, right at the moment your soul needed it most. You know, betrayal isn't always the end of the story. Sometimes it's the doorway to a version of you you never had the courage to meet before. And if lately you felt something shifting in the air, if your chest tightens around an opportunity that feels too good to be true, if you're caught between the warmth of the light and the shadow of uncertainty, then maybe, just maybe, the universe is whispering to you, saying, it's time to look again, not through the eyes of fear, but through the heart of someone who's finally ready to choose themselves. Because the truth is, nothing is ever random in the life of a light warrior. You're not hearing these words by accident, not because of some random click, not because of an algorithm suggestion. You're here because your soul spoke first. There are moments in life when what seems like chance is actually a sacred calling, a whisper from behind the veil of destiny. And if you are Aries, born with a heart of fire, a will like thunder and the feet of a seeker, then that moment is now. It's never easy for someone like you, a warrior of light, to pause in the chaos of life, just to listen to a voice that seems to come from nowhere and everywhere. But here you are, listening, which means you're ready. How long has it been since you put others before yourself? You, the pioneer, the brave one, how many times have you buried your own pain just to keep someone else comfortable? How many times did you keep walking while your soul was already tired? How many times did you smile as your heart quietly broke into pieces? We, the souls who carry light, sometimes forget that our kindness becomes a shelter for others, but over time, they forget that shelter was never their home. And you know that. You feel it not through words, but in the weight you carry in silence, in the restless nights, when your heart whispers, am I betraying myself? In that quiet ache, when the one you needed most turns away. If you've ever felt that, let me tell you, you're not crazy. You're awakening, like a warrior meditating in the middle of a battlefield, not to retreat, but to transform the wound into wisdom. Buddha once said, liberation doesn't come when everything is fine. It comes when you're brave enough to let go of what no longer feels like you. And sometimes what you need to release is not a person, but the image you've been holding on to, a role, a habit, a version of yourself you thought you had to be. People say Aries are impulsive, hot-headed, always hungry for the win, but they don't see the sacred journey within you where the fire is not just for burning, but for lighting the way. You don't fight to conquer, you fight to return to the truth of who you are, where you no longer shrink yourself just to keep a love that has already gone quiet, where you get to be fully yourself without apology. Aries, I don't know what you're going through, but I know this: in your quietest moments, you've heard the call to cross a threshold, the call to see the truth, the call that abundance, recognition, and a powerful shift are near, but also the warning, not everyone can walk with you into this new chapter. And maybe you're already sensing it, that strange feeling in your chest, a flicker of doubt when you look into the eyes of someone you trusted, a forced smile, a half-hearted hug, a presence that no longer feels whole. You don't have proof, but you feel it, and that feeling is real. Because when the light in you begins to shine, shadows on the edge begin to show their face. But don't be afraid. You don't need to run, you just need to see it clearly, with the awareness and the deep intuition that the universe planted in your heart long before you even got here. This is not a warning, this is an invitation to look again. Who's truly here for you, who's only standing nearby because your light keeps them warm, and who will stay when you have nothing left to give but your true self, raw, honest, vulnerable, and still burning with purpose. This is not the end, this is the threshold, and just beyond it, only 3 days from now, is a divine gift waiting for you. Not just money, not just opportunity, but something deeper, a confirmation that you've passed the test, that you've chosen yourself. And because of that, you are ready to receive it all. But there's something I need you to understand. Why is it that every blessing comes wrapped inside a betrayal? Why is it that, right before we touch what we deserve, someone appears to make us question the path? To answer that, we must go deeper, beyond the kindness you show, beyond the mask of strength, into the quiet, where an old shadow still lingers. We'll go there together, with light in your hand, and awakening in your heart. When you begin to shine, that's when the masks around you start to fall. Not because you've changed, but because your light makes it impossible for the shadows to hide anymore. There's something strange about awakening. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more you find yourself face to face with painful truths. A relationship you once trusted begins to crack. A friend who felt like home now feels distant. A careless comment reveals a jealousy you never knew existed. And you're left wondering, why now? Why does my heart feel like it's breaking, just as life is finally getting better? The answer isn't about your failure, it's about the nature of light. When you turn on a lamp in a room that's been dark for too long, the first thing you see isn't beauty, it's the dust, the cracks, the things you couldn't or wouldn't see before. And just like that, as your soul expands to welcome abundance, your energy shifts. You're no longer fertile ground for toxic ties. You stop staying silent when you're being disrespected. You stop pretending everything's fine just to keep others comfortable. And that makes some people walk away, not because they're bad, not because they're cruel, but because they're not ready for the kind of light you now carry. They loved you when you couldn't say no. They stood by you when you doubted yourself. But now, you're rising, you're glowing, and they no longer see themselves in you. Betrayal doesn't always come as a knife in the back. Sometimes it's just a look that avoids yours, a strange silence, a joke that stings more than it should. It's the way they stop celebrating you, the way they disappear when you need them most, the way the space between you grows in what used to feel like home. Aries, let me say this to you, slowly, gently, with truth. You did nothing wrong. This betrayal didn't come because you weren't enough. It came because you're finally becoming who you truly are. Remember when the Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, the moment light broke through, so did Mara, because light strong enough to awaken a soul is also strong enough to scare the darkness. You, Aries, you are glowing. The universe is aligning something powerful, a breakthrough just 3 days away. That could open a brand new chapter in your life. But that light, before it brings you glory, will burn away anything that no longer belongs. That's why the one who called you soulmate now turns their back. Why the one you thought was safe becomes a threat to your peace. Not because you deserve pain, but because you moved one step ahead. And I know that hurts. It hurts when the person who once held your hand in the dark can't walk beside you in the light. But the truth is, no one betrayed you. They simply stepped away from a path their soul wasn't ready to walk. Let them go. No anger, no explanation, no need to hold on, because here's what you need to remember. Not everyone can walk with you. When the road you're taking requires courage, and Aries, you are the brave one. Some will leave as soon as you stop being the version of you they're used to. But it's because of that. The ones who truly belong in your life can finally find you. The ones who aren't threatened by your light. The ones who won't dim your brilliance to feel less alone. The ones who see you fully and stay. So if today you feel like you've lost someone you once trusted, let the grief pass through you, but don't let it steal the radiance rising within you. True light never needs to apologize, and the one who carries light never has to ask permission to shine. Maybe now you're asking, so what do I do? How do I protect myself? How do I stop from falling into the same old hurt? The answer doesn't lie in defense. It lies in knowing what weapons you already carry. Not weapons to fight others, but inner powers. The kind that help you stay clear, stay grounded, stay kind, even when it hurts. And that's where we're headed next, into the deeper layers of your journey, where you'll realize an awakened warrior doesn't need armor, just the wisdom to know when to stop, when to walk away, and when to say no. Silence isn't always peace, and not every smile carries light. Sometimes you walk into a room where everyone says all the right things, but your heart starts pounding. For no reason. No one does anything wrong. No one says anything cruel, but still, something inside you feels unsafe. That feeling, it's not paranoia, it's not overthinking, it's your soul knocking gently from the inside, whispering, something's not right, pay attention. That is your intuition, your first weapon and your strongest one. On this path of awakening, over the next 3 days, something will show up. It might be an invitation, a new opportunity, or a perfect sounding offer. Right person, right timing, right words. But remember, not every open door leads to light. Some are just cleverly placed exits, pulling you off the road you're meant to walk. Aries, you're bold, fiery, and fast to act. But on this spiritual path, impulsiveness is the very thing you're being asked to release. Because not everything is meant to be chased. Some things are meant to be declined. Saying no is an art, it's maturity, it's a form of self-love. You've learned patience, you've learned to give, you've learned to forgive. Now it's time to learn one more thing, how to close the door on energy that no longer belongs to you. And I know that's not easy. Sometimes the offer comes from someone who once helped you, from a face that once felt like home, from a place you used to call safe. But your soul knows. You feel a lump in your throat when they speak. You smile, but your eyes don't. Your body tightens, even though you're still being polite. That's the signal. You don't need proof. You don't need permission. You have the right to trust yourself, even when no one else does. Once I heard a monk say, mindfulness isn't to keep you calm. It's to help you know when it's time to walk away. You don't have to shout no. You can simply pull your energy back. No arguing, no explaining, no feeding the loop. You don't have to win the conversation. You just need to not lose yourself inside it. I know, Aries, you've trusted the wrong people before. You've let someone in with your whole heart, and when they turned away, you didn't just lose them. You lost a piece of trust in yourself. But hear me on this, slowly now. You weren't wrong to trust. You just have to learn to trust again, with a version of you that's wiser, stronger, and awake. Because you know what? Intuition isn't a privilege. It's a gift the universe gave you from the moment you were born, but somewhere along the way you were taught to ignore it, to listen to authority, to be polite, to keep the peace. But real light doesn't need permission to exist, and you, a reborn warrior, don't need approval to stand in your own radiance. So I want to ask you something, and I hope you'll answer it with truth. When you once trusted the wrong person, what helped you finally see the truth? Was it an action, a look, a quiet feeling in your chest? Backhand index pointing right, share it in the comments, because somewhere out there, someone's hurting, and your story, even a small one, might be the light they need to come back to themselves. And if right now you feel clearer, lighter, brighter, it's because you just peeled away a veil, a fog that's covered your spiritual vision for far too long. So gently now, let the truth guide you closer to something you thought was too far away. Wholeness, not just in wealth, but in every breath, every choice, every moment you choose yourself first. And you know what? The moment you're clear enough to say no, another door begins to open. No fanfare, no loud knock, just a quiet truth. It's always been there, waiting for you to be ready. That's not a fantasy. That is true abundance, and it only comes when you know you're worthy. Not everyone knows this, but money has a soul, and that soul, just like you, needs to be welcomed, to feel safe, to be respected. Money doesn't come to those who constantly doubt their worth. It doesn't come to those who are still tied to an outdated version of their reality. Money only shows up when you choose yourself first. Some people see money as a reward, others see it as a tool, but to me and to anyone walking the path of awakening, money is confirmation. It's a sign that you've healed something within, that you've finally chosen yourself, instead of playing a role to please someone else. There's something I want to whisper to you, Aries, soft as the wind, but deep enough to stir something inside your soul. Abundance is not what comes to you, it's what you allow yourself to receive. And here's the truth. Betrayal, the thing you feared most, might actually be the key, the twist of fate that unlocks the gate to wealth you didn't even realize was closed because you've given too much, ignored your gut too often, held on to people you knew weren't meant to stay. You chose others instead of choosing you. Not because you were weak, but because you believed that was love. You were afraid of losing connection. You thought, if I just love harder, give more, they'll understand, they'll change. But they didn't, and somewhere in the process, you lost yourself. Pause with me for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself this. When was the last time you chose someone else instead of choosing yourself? And what happened next? Was it a love that drained you dry? A project that left you exhausted? A forced yes, when your intuition was screaming no? It's okay, Aries, we've all been there, not because we were foolish, but because no one taught us how to love ourselves first. But today, as you're listening to these words, you're standing at a new threshold, a financial cycle, a wave of opportunities, a shift that the universe already prepared, just waiting for you to place yourself at the center. No one else, no more apologies, no second guessing, just this truth: I choose me. And when you do that, not out of anger, not from pain, but because you finally understand your worth, you'll witness something beautiful. Money begins to show up, like rain after a long drought, a message about work, a payment you thought was forgotten, an unexpected offer, a door you once believed was closed, suddenly unlocks without a sound, because energy never lies. When you step into self-choosing with peace, the outer world, which only mirrors your inner world, starts reflecting that peace back to you. Picture this: you are sacred ground, and only when you protect your borders, Nurture your soil, keep your spring clean, will the rains come? Rain that brings money, opportunities, aligned partnerships. No one pours into land that's been disrespected. No one plants seeds where the owner has stopped caring. Money is energy, and energy honors those who honor themselves. You don't need to do more. You just need to pause long enough to ask yourself, who am I living for? Whose approval am I still chasing? Have I lost myself in the pursuit of a version of success that was never mine? Sometimes all it takes is to pull yourself back into your own chest and whisper, I choose me, not out of selfishness, but because it's been far too long since you last did. And the most beautiful part, the universe doesn't wait for you to be perfect before it delivers your reward. The moment you choose yourself, everything begins to shift. You breathe easier, sleep deeper, your space becomes softer, and money, which once felt so far away, starts showing up like it had been there all along, just waiting for you to stop abandoning yourself. But even then, as the money comes, as the dreams begin to form, you might still feel a flicker of doubt, a small voice whispering, do I really deserve this? What if it disappears again like last time? You're not alone. That hesitation, it's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's just an old scar being touched for the first time. And maybe, just maybe, the real answer lies in a memory deeper than you realize, a part of you still holding on to something you're not quite ready to release. There's a truth that rarely gets spoken. Success doesn't always come with joy. For some, it comes with fear, not because they don't want to rise, but because deep in their subconscious, they were once hurt. Right at the moment they began to shine. Maybe you got promoted and the person you loved walked away. Maybe someone praised you and someone else laughed behind your back. Maybe the moment you began to love yourself, your family turned cold and said, you've changed. And just like that, a quiet belief got planted inside you. Every time I feel happy, something bad is going to happen. No one taught you that. No one forced you to believe it, but your experiences remembered it for you. In this modern world, we talk a lot about manifesting, about attracting money, love, and success. But we rarely ask the real question, how do I feel worthy of receiving it? Without fear, without guilt. Have you ever felt that, Aries? Just when life starts feeling good, money flows in, a new relationship blossoms, an opportunity knocks, a whisper rises from somewhere inside you. Don't get too happy. What if it disappears? Will someone else get hurt? Will I have to pay for this later? That's not the truth. That's your nervous system running an old program. It's a subconscious pattern shaped by childhood wounds, silent betrayals, unspoken losses. And if that pattern isn't seen and healed, it will keep pulling you back to the same place. Self-sabotage. You'll say no to good things because you're not ready. You'll delay your dreams because you're waiting for the right time. You'll walk away from love because this feels too good to be true. All of it because somewhere along the way you learned that happiness isn't safe. Aries, I want you to pause, close your eyes, and gently ask yourself, was there a betrayal in your past that made you question your worth? Maybe it wasn't even a big betrayal. Maybe it was just a promise broken. Someone who didn't choose you. Someone who stayed silent when you needed them most. But that was enough to carve a false belief into your heart. A belief about your value. Let that question sit there. No need to rush an answer. Just allow your heart to admit you were left behind, and now you deserve to be held. You know, so many of us have lived in lack for so long that when something full and beautiful shows up, we feel guilty. We feel unworthy, like we need to pay for it, like we have to trade something in return. Because in the old operating system, abundance always came with a price, but not anymore. You've stepped into a new cycle, and in this cycle, you don't have to pay to receive. You only have to accept that you're already enough. I'm not asking you to forgive those who hurt you not right away. I'm simply inviting you to look at them through the eyes of a soul that has grown. They were people carrying wounds of their own, and in hurting you, they unintentionally helped you return to the one person you abandoned the most, yourself. Don't hate them, just be grateful, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. And I believe the moment you place your hand on your chest and say, I forgive, not to set them free, but to finally live again. That is the moment you break the invisible chain that's held you back for far too long. Aries, you are no longer the one who was broken. You're the one who survived. You're the one who stood back up. You're the one who's being reborn, and the most beautiful truth is, you're not alone on this path. Not everyone who betrays you hurts you in the way people usually think. Sometimes it's not the lies, not the silence, not even the moment they turn their back. The deepest cut is when you betray yourself, when you stay silent when you should have spoken, when you nod yes while your heart screams no, when you stay even though every cell in your body is begging you to leave, when you shrink yourself just to be accepted, when you dim your light because you're afraid someone else might feel small. Aries, you've done that, maybe not just once, and you don't need to feel ashamed because we all have. We've all turned away from who we truly are, just to keep someone, just to hold on to something we thought was love, we thought was safety. But now, you know better, don't you? You've seen all that you missed when you didn't stand up for yourself. You've realized when you don't choose you, no one else can truly choose you either. So today, I'm inviting you to do something simple. No grand gestures, no announcements to the world, just a whisper to your own heart. I choose me. Not once, but every morning you wake up. Every time you're faced with a decision. Every time someone makes you question your worth. You'll come back and choose yourself again and again and again, because choosing you doesn't mean pushing others away. Choosing you is an act of deep self-respect. It's a quiet promise that says, I won't let anyone, not even me, hurt this soul again. Aries, your light never left you. You just abandoned it in the places you no longer belong. But today you get to call it back, hold it, live in it. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need anyone's approval to be free. You don't need a green light to shine. You have full permission to be yourself, fully, fiercely on fire, exactly as you were born to be. And if someone can't stay when you finally shine, they don't deserve to walk in when you were still learning how to strike the match. If someone only loved you when you were quiet and easy to manage, that's not love. That's control disguised as care. And if you were the one who dimmed your flame just to be loved, forgive yourself. Then begin again, not from the start, but from where you lost sight of who you are. Today, Aries, you don't need armor. You don't need to fight to be seen. You don't need to prove your worth. You just need to sit down, place your hand on your heart, and trust this truth. I am enough. And that, soft, simple, sacred, might be the bravest thing you ever do, because this whole journey was never about becoming someone else. It's about coming home to who you've always been. Original, radiant, unedited, unapologetic. And if there's just one thing you carry with you after today, let it be this. No matter what the world spins around you, you can always choose again. Choose you, not with noise, but with a quiet fire that never burns out. In the soul of an Aries, thank you. Thank you for staying with me this far. Thank you for listening not just with your ears, but with your heart. I know the road you're walking isn't always easy. It gets lonely. It tempts you to turn back. But I also know this. It's the only road that leads to freedom. And you, my friend, you're on the right path. May you always have the courage to live in the light you carry. And even if others find it too bright, keep shining, because this world needs flames like yours.